It has never been the plan of God for man to live by the principle of this world. No. God intended for us to live by a different principle. If you are to have dominion over this world, you must live above the principles and values of this world. You can't live by the principles and values of the world and dominate the world at the same time. You know what God told me some time ago is that you can't beat the world to their game. If you want to dominate the world, if you want to rule over the world, if you want to have dominion over the world, you have to bring in the God factor. You have to live by the principles of the kingdom. You know, this whole thing is about kingdom, the kingdom of the world, the kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of God. If you are to dominate over the kingdom of the world and the kingdom of darkness, then you have to live by the principles of the kingdom of God. You can't do things the same way the world do it and get a different result from what the world has. Jesus said, we might be in this world, but we are not from this world. Yes, you are here, but you need to understand that you are a stranger here. You don't belong here. You're just here for now. And as long as you keep, two of them can't marry each other. If you want to live a godly life and then you're living by the principle of the world, you will find it difficult. It will not work. Things will not work. There will be a conflict of interest. You can't live by the flesh and expect to get a supernatural result. You can't live by the flesh and expect to dominate in the spirit. We are called to live by the Spirit of the living God because we are spirit beings. We proceeded from God. So if you want to live above the dictates of this life, if you want to walk in dominion over this life, if you want to walk in dominion over the forces of darkness, if you want to live a victorious life above the plans and the dictates of the enemy, then you have to live by the principles of God. God has his way of doing things. His ways of doing things is completely different from the ways of the world. And that's why we'll talk about the natural man and we'll talk about the spiritual man. The spiritual man has his way of doing things. The natural man has his way of doing things. That's why the natural man cannot understand the spiritual things. So, but if you want to have the God experience and you want to dominate here and you want to have outstanding results, then you have to live by the Spirit. You must understand the difference between the two. A Christian that's trying to live like someone who's not a Christian, you will never stand out. You will never get the best result. Because the things we do as Christians or the things we do as the children of God is completely different from the things the world do. For example, it does not make sense to a worldly man that you have to give all you have when you are in need. You are in need and they're telling you to give. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to the human understanding. But that's the way out. That's a godly principle. When you do it, even though it looks foolish to the human understanding, a higher law, a greater power is being activated on your behalf. That's what we call the miraculous. That's what we call the supernatural. It is the miraculous. It is called the supernatural because it's way over above the human reasoning and understanding. You can't understand it with your human thinking. Someone was saying, how can you say that somebody who has been blind for 20 years just received his sight and already know what color white or color blue is? That's why it's called a miracle. That's why it's a miracle. The human mind can't understand it. So that's the way it is with the things of the Spirit. We walk by a different rule. The Bible says we do not walk by sight, but we walk by faith. What does that mean? You're seeing something different around you, but you're believing something different. You don't have money in your pocket, but God is saying you are rich, and you're saying I am rich. It does not make sense. Some will say you are lying. Some will say you're just boasting. Some will say something is even wrong with you. You're just being naive. But that's the principle of God. The Bible says he calls those things that are not as though they are. And if you are one of his children, you've got to live like that. That's how God lives. God is not limited by what he sees around him. God says what he wants to have, and he has it. The Bible says, and the world was full of darkness. The Spirit of the Lord was, moving all over the deep waters, the dark areas, the chaos situation. But God didn't consider all of that. He just said, let there be light, and there was light, even though there was darkness everywhere. And as a child of God, that's the way you need to operate. By faith. That's what the Bible says, the just shall live by faith. Living by faith is a different principle, way higher and different than the principle of the word. The word says, I see it, I believe it. God says, you believe it, you see it. These are two different principles.